Okay, welcome to the WebinArt November vlog. This month we've decided to do a video instead of our usual written blog. So this month I've invited Anya Keeley and Khyati Koria-Green to share a conversation about their practice and answer questions that they've each prepared for each other. So I'm going to start with you, Anya. Could you introduce yourself and ask the first question, please?
Hello, I'm Anya, and so my first question to Khyati is, over lockdown, you started doing some creative challenges on social media, and have you got any plans of continuing that?
Yeah, over lockdown, I started creative challenges to try and help with homeschooling, and it has moved in different directions. So I have continued it, and it has expanded. It's moved from WhatsApp groups to now working on Facebook, and I've now got a dedicated Facebook group with people in lockdown from in and around Loughborough. So it has increased, and it seems to have a bigger community, and I'm looking at how to expand that. So I kind of want to take it from it being a social media project and an online project and try and take that into doing something more physical with it. So outside of lockdown, I want to have something physical to showcase in an exhibition. Yeah, so watch this space. I'm not sure which direction it's going in. I'm open to ideas there.
Cool.
Yeah, and so during lockdown, how have you progressed your practice, and how talk me through how one of your pieces evolved from taken from the idea?
Well, lockdown was a bit of a strange one, actually, because right at the beginning I sort of lost inspiration to make things, and I live in a studio flat, so I'm surrounded by people in other flats. So a lot of the things that I normally do, which is just stick on the drill or start hammering things, I started to feel really anxious about, because people weren't out at work, and so I started playing around with I just started playing with other things I could do that weren't as noisy. I love sewing. I make my own clothes, and I dye my own fabrics, and I love doing that and going for walks. So I just started thinking, how could I combine that? So the wire creatures I make, I normally do paper mache, and then how I do them, I attach them to pieces of work, so I need to drill the work and a base for it. So I started playing around with that, and I've actually got a little one here. So these ones I've started doing hanging pieces, so I don't have to attach them to a base. And because I couldn't get hold of flour during lockdown, I couldn't do any paper mache, so I've started using fabrics and stuffing them with offcuts of wool. So I suppose that's how it's sort of developed. But I start with a wire frame and then build up from there. But yeah, I suppose it
improved your practice. Like, do you think
I think so. I think I managed to focus more about what I liked doing, and what I was. So some things I was really missing doing because I felt guilty about making noise. And then a lot of it was like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to do that, because I've got the excuse that it'll annoy people if I'm regularly hammering things, and which gave my wrist a bit of a break because I have an injury on my wrist. And yeah, so I think it actually forced me to look at what I make and how I make it. And yeah, so I've got some ideas.
Sounds sounds like you made the most of it.
Yeah, I tried to. Yeah. Anyway, obviously, like lockdown, I don't have kids, but you're really busy. You have a kid and family and things. So I was just wondering how you managed, particularly during lockdown, to put some creative me time to one side. Did you manage at all?
God, yes, I did. And it's all the cliches. I felt really selfish all the time, and trying to talk myself into it, justifying it all the time, and taking any given opportunity. So in the mornings, my husband always comes and sits with me in the concert, like in my studio, to have a cup of coffee, and I'm kind of talking to him and half working, and just trying to steal any time that I can get to be creative, and also kind of allowing myself to be creative. So in my initial practice before lockdown, I was helping organise events, doing a lot of curating exhibitions, and a lot of my work got sidelined. So I took the opportunity with lockdown to dig out all my art materials and kind of put them all around me. And so anytime I went to steal 5-10 minutes, half an hour. And I think the other thing I did was just try and give myself really short tasks. And so I'm not going to achieve a big canvas painting. I just wanted to achieve a tiny little page in my sketchbook. So allowing myself to kind of do these little projects. And that's where the creative challenges kind of started evolving from, because I thought, if I'm doing this and enjoying this me time and feeling like I've achieved something, even if it was 5 minutes in the day, I wanted to share that with others and say, you can do this too. And to have a community engage with it was kind of exciting, because we were all sharing our practice, but also made it more meaningful and gave it more purpose, and eventually evolved into something that became worthwhile persisting with, and allowing myself, giving me an excuse to allow myself to do the job. So yes, it's just trying to make any time I can for it, and also getting my kids involved. One's 7 and one's 4, and they're really keen to see what mummy's doing and wanting to get involved. So they're always, if I'm cutting something out, they want to participate, they want to do it, they want me to cut things out for them or cut things out themselves, and they come up with the most craziest collages or paintings, and it's been really exciting to work with them, hopefully inspiring them as well, which then gives me more reason to continue. So yeah, just trying to justify it all the time, because I don't think it's worth, otherwise there will be plenty of house cleaning to do. There'll be plenty of other things that I could be doing, but yeah, having to justify it and making time has been the hardest part, actually. So I think that answers the question. Let me ask you. So, in all your practice, and you've achieved all this time in with your practice evolving, what would you define as your ultimate end goal? So what would you define as ultimate success? And how do you see your practice evolving to get to your eventual target?
Well, I suppose I did, for most of the time that I've run my business and made, so for the last nearly 20 years, I've always had a job alongside, but I took voluntary redundancy about 5 years ago, and that gave me the opportunity to actually build on what I'm doing, but it doesn't bring in a lot of income. So not that money itself is an ultimate goal of mine, but I would like to be able to survive without having to worry. There's always a worry because the income is it fluctuates so much. I've had to learn how to plan around that, and I know that sort of normally this time of year I earn half my income for the year during November and December, and this year's that's not going to happen, you know. So yeah, I suppose my ultimate goal is to actually get to the point where I can plan that better and know exactly how much I need to always have just to survive. Yeah, I'm not one for holidays or or buying luxury clothes. I make my own, you know. So I just want to sort of get to that point where it's a nice level of income. I can help pay my
mortgage.
Sorry?
You have an exhibition at the moment coming up.
I do, yeah. I'm quite lucky that for the last 10 years I've been sending work to Munich for a December exhibition, and it looked like that wasn't going to go ahead, but they've decided they still want the work, and I think they're still hoping to put the exhibition on during December, and that's always one of the best exhibitions I ever do every year. The way Germany runs, it's a municipal museum and art gallery, and their commission, how they work it is they take 5% to cover costs, and they pay to send any work back, and you get the rest of the money. It's you give them a retail price, and it's one of the most fantastic ways, and they're funded so well that they can afford to do that for the artists, and I think it's amazing. So yeah, so hopefully it'll go ahead. I've sent the work, so
and of course it's all going to sell out.
Oh, obviously. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but yeah, it'd be nice. I've sent less work this year just because I don't know how they're going to manage it. Yeah, so we'll see. I'll find out once they've hung it and once they open the doors. So I suppose my turn to ask you something. So what I've written. So what's been your favourite creative challenge so far to date? I know we talked about the lockdown. Is there anything else?
My favourite creative challenge, I think in all the projects that I do, and this is my curatorial practice coming out, in all the projects that I do, I find that every one of them is like a rabbit hole. It's a journey for me. And so I meet an artist and I could be talking to them about lace, and then I could meet an artist and talk to them about football stadiums, or I could talk to somebody about, I don't know, Alice in Wonderland. You know, there's so many different subjects, and each project I do is like a wormhole into another subject. So for me, every project that I do has this kind of initially it doesn't sound as very exciting, but it's this potential and this journey that I take, this wormhole journey that I take into each project, and how I can get immersed in the subjects that I otherwise would not have it wouldn't have crossed my path at all. So I think that excitement is the thing that keeps me going in all my projects. And at the moment, my current projects, working with communities and working with these artistic challenges that I'm putting out there, I'm working with people who have come from so many diverse experiences that I love the way that how one thing can be interpreted in so many different ways, and how I see, you know, that this can only come together in this way, how somebody else would interpret it completely different, and how I get so many contrasting responses is really exciting. And it's that kind of thing, that kind of having those creative conversations, either visually or verbally, how different people come at things in different ways. I really like that engagement, and I really like the potential of what that grows into. So yeah, it's kind of really exciting. Any starting of the project is really exciting, and obviously ending of the projects are hopefully usually satisfying. I think in this current situation, I've always worked with other people telling me what the projects are. In this current situation, I'm now starting to plant the seeds of what projects I want to be able to work on. And for me, that's I guess for me at the moment, I'm in the most exciting, scariest, most terrifying part of my career, but the most exciting part of my career, because I feel like I've got a lot more say in what's happening, and I feel more like an artist and curator now than I have done in any given time before lockdown. So yeah, this allowing myself to be is the most challenging, most creative, and most exciting time. I think I answered your question. I'm not sure.
Sounded like
okay, so what so this is what, at the moment, with where you are at the moment in your career, what advice would you give to the younger self, your younger self?
Oh yeah, that's a toughie, isn't it? Because for a long time I used to always regret having never done something, or have gone into working full time rather than in my 20s, rather than just push on, because that's the sort of time that you can actually get away with living on less. You're renting places, you're not got a mortgage and things. But I sort of decided a few years ago I wouldn't regret about anything, because everything I've done in the past has got me to where I am now, and I actually like where I am now. So I would just say do what you want to do, because where you're at, you've only got there because of what you've been doing. So there's no point changing any of that. That's so that's how I view it now anyway. If you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, I'd have probably listed a whole load of things that I would have wanted to have changed, or you should have done this. But I don't think 20 years ago, I don't think I would have listened to myself anyway. So
yeah, there is that as well. It's funny, because now looking at myself and looking at my daughters and how they are making decisions, and you kind of see yourself in them, and you think, but you've got to allow them to learn, and you've got to so yeah, you wouldn't have taken your advice anyway.
No, I don't think I would have.
Oh well, I think that answer was kind of well dodged. That question was well dodged.
Yeah, it's taken me years to practice how to dodge a question.
Yeah, you know.
You've done a really good job of not dodging questions today. So is that the end of your questions? Have you got another question to ask?
I think there was only one last question really, was do you actually listen to anything while you make, or do you like silence? Or
So when I'm working, I like to listen to music, and I won't go through my music choice because it's rather embarrassing. A lot of it was from 10 years ago, and I'm still listening to that stuff, and I have no idea what's cool now. But yeah, a lot of I listen to music when I'm actually working on administrative stuff and typing stuff. But when I'm actually working on my art, so on my artwork, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I like listening to other artists' podcasts. At the moment, I'm a little bit obsessed with secret artists. Quite listening to their podcast and The Jealous Curator. So those are the two podcasts that I listen to quite a bit. But yeah, it's like having friends in the room. I kind of like having them around. Yeah, what about you? Do you have any advice?
Well, I used to listen to the radio, actually. I used to just to play, well, Six Music I used to listen to. I suppose it's sort of, you never really quite know what you're going to hear on there and things, but I went through a point when I did my masters. I couldn't listen to people talking in between songs, and I ended up listening, I suppose because I was writing dissertation and things, ended up listening to a lot of classical music. I'm feeling very old to do that, but now I've just made myself playlists, so I have them depending on what mood I'm in, and I can just put a playlist on. So yeah, I've gone down that route, and unfortunately nothing probably from the last decade, but there you go either.
And what do you watch anything when you're not working?
No, I sit on the sofa, and my other half, John, he'll want to watch a film or whatever, and I'll just watch whatever's on, really. It's I tend to watch documentaries and things if I'm sat, if I'm in the shed and I'm doing some paper mache or something like that, something that doesn't need my focus all the time, and I'll sit and I'll watch a documentary then. But yeah, no, nothing specific really.
Great. Thank you both very much. That was really fascinating, really, really great insight into how you both work and what motivates you, what interests you. I love when you're talking about what you tell your younger selves. That's it's a really difficult question to answer, isn't it? I think it's really interesting to hear how you get on with those. So thank you both very much. And for anybody watching, you can find out more about both the artists through the links on the same page. Thank you.